Hello, everyone, and welcome to Study Hall. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. With me is my co-host, Troy Pacelli.
Hey, how's it going? What you sipping on?
I have a Sprite here. I'm going to crack open the can
There you
for some
go.
wonderful ASMR. Look at that. Okay.
And I have a Gosling's Diet Ginger Beer. I'm being a good boy today because tomorrow is my first day of work, and so I have to get up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That's awesome, though. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Which
Okay.
is exactly why we decided some time ago to put this a little bit earlier than the standard Professor Geek standard time.
Yeah. Well, so I guess the midnight streams are off for a little while, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to have to start going to bed at a reasonable hour these days.
No, that's fine, though. Hey, work is a
Thanks,
good thing.
Auditor Dread.
Oh yeah, I wanted to welcome everybody in the chat.
Yep.
First and foremost is Netter. Welcome, Netter.
Actually, I saw earlier tonight Melissa Harris actually got in first, but she's dropped off. She had a comment about Teen Titans Go or something like that, and I'm sorry that we don't have that on the docket for tonight, Melissa. But
I don't know what's going on.
Acknowledge it.
But I will see about looking into that for next week if there's big news on that. Okay.
Yep.
And Wolf 10 Media is here first. Aru. That's like the Scooby-Doo version of what he does. Okay. And Troy Pacelli, welcome. Oh, wait, I already did both. Okay. Auditor Dread, welcome. Let's see here. Melissa Harris. Okay. Back to the drawing board. Brian Gill Martin. Yeah, I missed the rest of that movie Bob chat the other night. I'm gonna have to find out about that. We won't talk about him on this stream though. In fact, do you know who that is?
No.
Movie Bob. Okay, it's a sad story. I'll tell you later. Okay. Anyway, okay. Well, welcome to Study Hall. We've got a lot to cover. Oh, and Wolf Demady, if you have me on the next show, I'll do my Scooby-Doo impressions. But you can do them tonight too. Are you going to be on Mr. Matchstick stream? Because we're doing Batman the Brave and the Bold after this, right? And I'm going to be on with you guys. I'll be curious to hear them. Definitely.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So
back to the drawing board says there's a slight echo in my audio, which means coming through your headset probably.
Love the mic. Let me turn it down a little bit.
Sorry, man. Okay. Not much you can do.
Not your fault. That. Okay. Can you? All right.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. I can hear you all right now too. Okay. So should we get to the first topic?
Yeah, so let's give everybody the Hollywood apocalypse update.
So Sherlock Holmes 3 is on the back burner.
Yeah, so it's just another example of another Hollywood film that is being suspended because of the coof and the whatever. I mean, every time you get this kind of news, that just means there's a movie company losing money, not to mention the theaters. You know?
Yep. And all these productions are getting delayed. I saw the notes here. Guy Ritchie, they can't move forward with production. He made a point that The Saint, they were doing a Saint movie that is also on the back burner.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yep. And Robert Downey Jr. He was tied up in the MCU for a while. They had this thing planned years ago,
right?
But they couldn't. He was stuck doing the MCU movies, and of course, because he's Iron Man in like half the movies, you know. So
right, and then he gets freed up from Iron Man, and now he can't make any movies because Well,
he made Doolittle.
Oh yeah, that was a masterpiece. I have no idea. I didn't see it.
It didn't do well.
Not a lot of people did, apparently.
Didn't do at the box office, but I'm sure it'll be a Best Picture nomination. Anyway,
we'll get to that for sure. Yeah.
But let's see, though. I think Guy Ritchie was making a point. How do you do a love scene during the coronavirus pandemic in a movie?
Well, I mean, I would say one way to do it is to start casting actors, and their significant others. That's one way to do it.
Okay.
So that means I think what we need is a Green Lantern too.
Yeah, we're not getting a Green Lantern too.
No.
Did you see Green Lantern?
I did. We have it on DVD because Netter's a big Green Lantern fan. She was gonna get that DVD whether it was good or not.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's where he met Blake Lively.
So Leia Plus size said that she thought that Sherlock Holmes 3 had already been filmed. Is that not the case?
No. From what I've been hearing, it's been maybe they started filming it and they stopped, but no, that thing's been in production chaos for a while now. I mean, it was in pre-production for a while. They had the script written and they kept saying it's coming, but no word on it. And
Hmm.
I was looking forward to it. I loved the first Sherlock Holmes movie when that came out. It was a lot of fun. It was actually nice to go to a movie and just have fun, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I know how that is. But
And
but yeah,
I did kind of feel like they were kind of giving it like a Dark Knight trilogy esque treatment. How you saved the big villain for the second movie, kind of like how they did with the Joker and
yeah.
in the Dark Knight. They were going to save Moriarty for the second movie, and I didn't know what they were having planned for part three.
I mean, I will be honest with you. I mean, when it comes to Sherlock Holmes, I read all of the, the original stories, and my favorite interpretation was the what was that series on British television? Jeremy Brett.
I remember
That
that.
series
Yes.
was the best because it was a very, very faithful interpretation. So nothing, I haven't liked any of these series. I did not care for. I mean, I've seen some episodes of the Benedict Cumberbatch. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, the dialogue is really snappy, but as an interpretation of Sherlock Holmes, I didn't care for it. I really don't like the American one with Lucy Liu. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
Elementary.
yeah, Elementary. I didn't care for that. I don't like any modern interpretation of that sets Sherlock Holmes in a modern setting. I think that Sherlock Holmes needs to be in um, that Victorian era, because that setting is as much a character as Moriarty and Sherlock and so forth, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right. I'll confess I did watch Elementary.
Hmm.
Um, the show did have a formula though. There'd always be the first suspect that would get dismissed, and then by the end the end of the episode they come back to the first suspect, and that's the murderer.
Yeah,
No, that
I
was the
mean, if you're gonna do a modern dress interpretation of Sherlock, I think the best one out there is House MD. That really
yeah,
is
that was
intended
mhm.
as an interpretation of Sherlock Holmes.
It is.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was a except it was medical mysteries. That's how the show
Exactly.
started out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. I mean, there wasn't much to say about that other than it's put off, and that's another example. Should we move on to the next topic?
I guess so.
We've been saving this one for a little while, but we've been watching it. AT&T can't even give away HBO Max.
No. They can't give away HBO Max, and this
Kind of
is
an
kind.
anchor around their necks, huh? From a business standpoint.
What do you think of HBO Max? Even before reading these articles, what were your thoughts on it?
Beats me. I don't follow it. My understanding was that there's actually more than one HBO streaming service
Yes,
out there, which is
there,
very confusing to me.
there. I know there was HBO Go. There
Yeah.
was another HBO app. Like there were two apps you could download depending on the device you
Yeah,
had
what a
HBO.
cluster. I mean, it's like just you need to pick one stream, because look, there's already enough streaming services out there. You don't need to subdivide your own streaming service.
Yeah. Um, and I don't know what they're doing with this. I think that this is HBO plus Cinemax. I'm assuming what that is, plus whatever that DC app they had a couple years ago was the DC streaming they had.
Yeah. I
And
forget what that, but yeah, I know what you mean.
but
Which they were going to kind of roll into. What was it? Was it HBO Max or one of their streaming services? That's just it. I get confused with all the HBO streaming services.
this is a brand new streaming service.
And
Okay.
then Casey Scott brings up, speaking of AT&T, they're trying to sell CNN.
Yes,
Oh,
this
geez.
is the latest thing. Well, what was the main reason people were tuning into CNN? And if it looks like we are going to be having a change in the country's leadership, why are people going to be tuning into CNN anymore? Since
Right.
it was basically a bashing network for a certain elected official.
Right.
You
So
know,
it basically devalues that, right?
yeah, that's that's what I'm assuming. Maybe I'm wondering if ratings have severely dropped off since the election. I don't know.
Unless there's still value as the you know the party the party news outlet. So you need you need the the spokes the voice box for the DNC. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I have I know, but does that pay though? That's the only thing.
I don't know. Maybe they'll become the the propaganda wing of the government. Kind of the BBC slash PBS. You know
It'll
of
be another app you can download.
Oh yeah, exactly. Another streaming service for you people.
There you go. But anyway, though, but as getting back to HBO Max, apparently
Yeah.
8.6 million uh, had activated HBO Max. Apparently 38 million are eligible to get it for free.
See, and that's going to be a running theme here, right? Whenever you start talking numbers of these streaming services, how many of the people that are subscribing to it are paid and how many of them are getting it for free, whether for whatever reason, as a limited time offer, as a bundle package, whatever, right?
Um, the paying customers is 3.6 million. Okay, so
Mhm.
38 million are eligible to get it for free. 8.6 million have activated it, and it looks like what is it? 4 million of those are the only ones that have activated the stuff you get for free. If you're an AT&T customer, I believe that's what's going on here. And this strikes me. Did they not get the word out that if you're an AT&T customer, you get this app for free?
Yeah, I think so.
There are some other problems with this too. What Leia Plus Size says here, I did not want HBO Max because you can only get it on your phone and laptop, and I still like to come home and watch on my TV. Well, there are limited venues that you can watch this on. There's the Android TV, the Apple TV, the PlayStation 4, Samsung TV, because I guess a Samsung Smart TV, that's what they mean, and an Xbox game console. So if you have a Roku player, I guess an Amazon Fire Stick, you're out of luck.
I guess. I mean,
And
I don't know. I mean, you're kind of really pushing the limits of my knowledge of technology. So,
oh, really? Oh, you don't do the streaming stuff?
no,
Oh,
no,
I do. I do. I'm all
I
about like
can't
adding.
afford this streaming stuff other
You
than
can get
like the
you can
free
get free
YouTube.
streaming stuff though.
Well,
Like what is it? The Tubi you were telling me about, remember?
well, sure. I do the Tubi and I
Yeah.
do well, Philo isn't exactly isn't free. It is a subscription, but it's the equivalent of what used to be the basic cable, it's just online now. So and Philo does offer um it's $20 a month. Yeah. So it's basically like what basic cable used to be. And now they're starting to offer, you can bundle it with, other packages. And we're like, yeah, but we didn't want any of that when we had cable. We're certainly not going to do that now streaming.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's see. They say Peacock is beating it. Do you know what Peacock is?
I'm guessing it has something to do with NBC.
Okay, yes, you are correct. I believe it's NBC Universal. I believe that they are also owned by Comcast. So this is the Comcast streaming service. Everyone's getting it on streaming. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But that's just it. When you keep dividing and dividing, people can only afford to subscribe to one basic and one premium service for the most part. When you start adding more and more premium services, you just unless you're one of the big boys, nobody can afford you for reruns of the Andy Griffith Show or something like that.
Well, you have original content like on CBS All Access.
Oh yeah, because people are paying for that.
Well, I'm going to say this: HBO Max, $14.99 a month. Okay, and I guess the justification is think about HBO as a premium channel, Cinemax as a premium channel. I'm assuming you're getting all those shows. So if you want to watch The Sopranos, old Sopranos reruns, or if you want to watch even like the new, some of their new series they have on there too, like Westworld.
Boomer.
And,
You know where I stand on this stuff. If you care about any of those things, then get the physical medium.
but yeah, but you get to see it right away before the physical media comes out. Like,
Unless they decide that it's problematic next year and you don't
we'll
get to see it anymore and they take it off.
With HBO stuff, they tend to be the opposite. They tend
or
to
like with Mulan, you pay for it to own it on your streaming service until they decide, well, oh yeah, this is problematic, and they take it away from you, even though you paid for it, because you don't own anything. Remember, we talked about that last week.
But $14.99 a month, and how much is
back to the drawing board? I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
gave you an earworm, did I?
No, it's fine. Thanks. Now I have the Andy Griffith. Yes. What did I get stuck in my head? George Gershwin's An American in Paris. I saw the DVD on the shelf, and then suddenly the theme got stuck in my head for the whole day.
Yeah.
There are worse things to get stuck in your head.
I was going to say it's having a Gershwin tune stuck in your head is not a terrible thing.
Yeah. But you know how much Disney Plus is? $6.99 a month.
It's overpriced.
At $6.99?
Yep.
But that's a lot cheaper than HBO Max.
Well, that's overpriced too, so it's
Okay.
just more overpriced.
I mean, I'm assuming the big draw for Disney Plus is, of course, all the families, but we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that for sure.
But yeah, so this can segue into our next comment though about Warner Media layoffs.
Oh yeah, so Warner Media is doing a hatchet job, and there's actually I'm going to share one. Well, let me share first the topic, and then I'll try to share the link because it's a big link and it takes up more than 200 characters. But there's actually a lot of links out there. There's a lot of outlets talking about different Warner Brothers. This executive gets let go, that executive gets let go. I don't know what to tell you about that other than everybody's tightening their belt, and Warner Brothers, basically every time you hear that people are being let go, that means that they're losing money somewhere and they're trying to make it up by getting rid of people.
Yeah.
That's how business works.
I have the comments here. CEO Jason Killar emailed staffers this morning acknowledging the process as painful. I was reading the letter. It made me kind of sick, actually.
Yeah.
I was reading the letter. It was all about synergy,
Of course, he's using all the buzzwords and all the corporate doublespeak. And for him to say it's painful, yeah, that's easy for you to say when you're not the one losing your job.
I mean, I genuinely, I pick on the entertainment industry sometimes, but I actually do feel bad for these people losing their jobs.
You always feel bad for people losing their jobs, but I'll be honest with you. Some of these people in the entertainment industry, this is how they shepherded their businesses. We've been saying all along, get woke, go broke. If you lose your job because you're going broke, sorry.
I am wondering what they want synergy between HBO, Warner Brothers, and Turner. So I guess these used to be separate entities operated separately, and now they're going to try.
Yeah, let me translate that for you. We had a big buying of different outlets and all this acquisition, and now we're broke. We're actually in the hole. So now we've got to eliminate any redundancies, which is always what happens when there's acquisitions. I don't care if it's the entertainment industry or some other area of corporate America. You got to expect that to happen.
600 jobs eliminated in August, and this is, I don't even think this is the latest round of layoffs. This is just what happened previously.
And I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves too much, but you see it with Disney, with 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm and everything. You have all these acquisitions that puts you in debt, but now we're also talking streaming services, and you have multiple streaming services because of the acquisition. So that all but one of those is going to be eliminated with shows rolled into one streaming service. It's becoming the streaming wars, and those wars are actually being fought within, parent companies. That's what's really sad.
So it's HBO versus the whatever the DC thing was, right?
Right.
And now they're all going to get rolled into one.
That's a great example. Yeah. And it doesn't even matter what it was called because it doesn't exist anymore. And it got rolled into, whatever.
Oh,
HBO
Brian
Max
Martin says sounds like a bloodbath at Warner Media.
Yep. That's a good way to put it.
That bloodbath will come up later tonight too, because
we'll be talking more about that when we start getting into the DC comics.
Do you want to hear anything from Killer's memo here?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I like how you said that, Killer's memo.
Well, that's what it sounds like. That's his name. Okay. I don't know how else to pronounce it.
I think it's Killar, but okay.
Killar, whatever. Okay.
But he's a killer, all right.
Yeah. I'll say the last paragraph. Okay. To our colleagues who are leaving, I wish there were words to lessen today's pain. Your contributions are a permanent part of this great company, and today's news does not change that. I am extremely thankful for all that you have done for this team and this mission. I hope that at some point you will look back on all of it with immense pride. Until then, please stay well and safe. Jason.
Yeah. How does that sound to somebody who's losing their job? Thanks for the fact that you're losing your job is going to help our bottom line, and we thank you for that. That's how I translate that.
Mm-hmm.
And true as it may be, it's BS to the people losing their jobs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is unrelated news, but yeah, Sony is acquiring Crunchyroll, which is an anime streaming service.
Is there any value to that anymore?
Apparently, they paid almost $1 billion for it.
Wow.
I don't know where Sony's getting this money from, and I forgot that they are, and he makes a point, they already have Funimation, so...
Well, I can tell you that they didn't have the capital for it, so they went into debt to do that. So, good luck, Sony. You're already on thin ice. I'm expecting Sony acquires Crunchyroll in 2020, and Sony files for bankruptcy in 2021. Yeah. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, I'm thinking. But this also brings up your point. Is this now going to be Crunchyroll versus Funimation, since now they're owned by the same company and now they're going to be fighting out inside to see which one survives?
I don't know what Crunchyroll had with it, but they wanted to acquire whatever Crunchyroll had. Crunchyroll as an entity is going to disappear, and they're going to either roll that into Funimation, or Funimation is going to go away too, and they're going to make Sony, streaming animation something or other somewhere.
I will see what happens there.
Or roll it into whatever other streaming service Sony might have.
Yeah, we didn't cover Sony tonight. It's mainly Warner Brothers and Disney. Maybe next week
we'll Sony otherwise has been keeping a pretty low profile. But then again, what else does Sony have besides Spider-Man?
They released a new game console, which is...
That's your thing, man. What do I know from game consoles? I play everything on PC.
They have actually, no, Spider-Man 3 is in the works, but we'll get on.
We'll get into that when we get to the Marvel thing. But oh my gosh, it all falls under the Hollywood clusterfuck,
Okay, we have okay. So now we're going to go on to Disney now, right?
Sure, why not? We got a lot of
this is depressing. I'm like, we'll get to something more positive.
We'll have some better news coming forward, but it's not. As a news, we're kind of, in a way, we're just reporting the news, right? And we don't get to make up the news like the mainstream media does. We can only report on what's out there, and the news is not good, and it usually isn't. So don't blame the messenger on these things,
Mm-hmm.
But so as we're talking about, letting people go and people losing their jobs, let's, jump back over to our buddies over at Disney that's furloughing even more Disneyland staffers and executives because they can't open up in California. So it's what I predicted last time. They may not even, I'm just speculating based on nothing but my own logic and my own impression, my own opinion, that means nothing, no insider information. I don't see how they're going to even ever reopen Disneyland in California.
Yeah, they are flatly laying the blame on the governor.
Well, what else? I mean, that actually, and I'm no big fan of Disney myself, even as a stockholder.
Mhm.
But look, we got to call it what it is. It's not their choice. It is specifically because the governor has really ganked them.
Yeah.
What can they do? But let all these people go. And like I said, I think they should just close up Disneyland in California and either put all of their effort into Florida. That's actually what makes the most sense. Or if they need to have another park, open it somewhere else, Texas maybe or something.
Yeah, I mean, I know, weren't they talking about opening up one in Virginia at one point? I know they wanted to do an American themed theme park a while ago about American history, but then that kind of got
Yeah,
buried.
that isn't
That,
working these days, right? In
that thing felt
2020, nobody's interested in American history.
that,
They're
well, that was
interested in rewriting American history. So forget that theme park.
yeah, and oh, thank you, Auditor Dredd. I think you guys do a great job reporting the news non-biased. Not your fault that Hollywood is digging themselves into a
Right.
hole. But
Although, I mean,
mhm,
I said without bias, but let's be honest with you. Obviously, Aged Boomer and I have a bias, and we're not, but we do editorialize. But when it comes to the reporting of the news, we give you the source, we tell you where it's coming from, and we just let you know the facts. Then we give you our opinions about it, but the facts are the facts. They kind of stand on their own.
and I do try to be fair, even when I was discussing my own personal thoughts on what Gamergate was last week. I still
Yeah.
said this is what the mainstream
The
narrative is.
best I
You
can do
choose
is
what
say
you
this is
believe.
my bias and this
Yeah,
is what I have to say about it, but ultimately the facts are up to you to interpret. So yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And even if we're going to be biased, at least we'll be honest about our bias, which is
yeah.
better than you're going to get from the MSM.
Oh man. Even with Disney though, as much issues I have with Disney, this whole thing with Disneyland, this falls straight. I think this falls a lot on the government right now. Okay, this is the
Absolutely it
government
does.
interfering
It absolutely
because
does.
they
You
are
can you can argue. I mean, we there's plenty of blame for Disney's business collapsing because of other things, but when it comes specifically to Disneyland, that's out of their hands. That's all on the governor there. That's all in California, Stan. You know,
yeah, like President Ken Potrock, is that I got his name right? He was expecting to be able to open the parks in Anaheim, but they were unable to convince Governor Newsom. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Comrade Newsom. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's not looking good. 28,000 domestic employees affected. 67% are part time. I was wondering too when it said on here staffers and executives. I was wondering if this is now some of the bigwigs are now getting let go after all this time.
Well, I went ahead and I kind of got ahead of you a little bit,
No,
but
it's fine.
it flows right into it. Disney has even axed two of their top Marvel employees. So a couple execs over at Marvel they let go. Um, Disney, I said it last week, and I based it on speculation. This was before Disney put out their fourth quarter earnings report, right? I had said that at the time, and I said I'm guessing that fourth quarter is going to look terrible. They are hemorrhaging money, and now after the fourth quarter, and we see these layoffs, these two articles alone, and there's more out there that we aren't sharing with you. You can find them of Disney layoffs across their different holdings is an indicator of how badly business is. We said that in the first couple businesses. When there's layoffs, that's an indicator that they're losing money and they're tightening their belt. That's clearly broadcasting that fact, you know. So yeah, and so that's Marvel too.
Yeah, I mean, two of the top, they were what is it, John Nee,
Yeah,
who who the people were shocked by, I believe. I mean, I'm not as familiar with comic books as a lot of other people, but yeah. And Marvel Entertainment producer Judy Stevens, right?
Yeah. But again, what did I say in the last segment? When you get woke, you go broke, and this is what you reap, what you sow. You've made these editorial decisions in your books and so forth, and now you're losing your job. I feel bad for you, but not that bad, because you reap what you sow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that it's definitely tied to that. Nee was big in the quote unquote nerd culture scene. I don't like that word that was used in this article. This was about it.
I agree, because I would also argue, what nerd culture are you talking about? You talking about the nerd culture, the SJW, producers of comics? Then sure, but that's not my nerd culture, right? That's not all the people that have left. The people like Ethan Van Sciver and whatnot who've said, I'm done with this business, and have stopped buying comics. And all the people that have stopped buying comics are exactly why they've lost money, because they don't have people buying the comics anymore. That's your geek culture that's left.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering, I have a note here. I wonder if it's twilight for geek culture, or at least geek culture as the media has known it.
And what Leia Plus Size says, we're going to be getting to that in just a minute. But after the SJW crap the MCU has given us, I do agree. I have no tears for Marvel. We're just talking about the comics, but we'll get to the MCU in just a second too.
Yeah. Oh, Auditor Dread made a point. They lost a lot of money with the Avengers video game that came out. I remember the professor was excited about that.
I forgot to mention that one. I don't have an article for you guys on that, but that's absolutely true. They lost a lot of money on that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I don't know. I mean, it might have been other reasons too.
And I would argue that we said it about we see it with the comics, right? The comics, nobody's buying comics. Nobody is interested in Marvel comics, right? People did care about the MCU, but after the last movie, either they're putting out stuff that nobody cares about, or they're not putting out anything because of CV, right?
Yeah. And
so the momentum is lost. So and we talk about this so much, right? It's not just the movies and how they do, and the TV shows and the whatnot. It's the marketing behind it. It's, you have a hit movie and then you sell the toys on the back end. That's why Sony is so concerned about Spider-Man. They don't care how the Spider-Man movie does. They care about selling the toys and the lunchboxes. Spider-Man is the biggest selling superhero character in merchandising above all of them. Believe it or not, he outsells Superman. I did not know that until I read the statistics a couple of years ago.
That doesn't surprise me, because even when I was a child, even though Superman was the big hero because of Christopher Reeve, I still knew who Spider-Man was. Okay,
yeah,
because he's always been synonymous with superheroes just as much, I think, as Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. So that doesn't surprise me that he may have.
And even when there isn't a movie out there, he's still the toys are still selling. So it's the toys that keep it alive. We can talk more about that with Star Wars, but it's the same thing. If the movie does well and makes a profit, that's wonderful. But if the toys don't sell, it's a flop.
It's interesting too, bringing up comic books. I wasn't a huge reader of comic books, but when I did read superhero comics, I would usually gravitate towards Spider-Man.
Yep.
That was usually the one I would go pick up, because
it kind of did too. I loved the Spider-Man comics.
Leia Plus Size says, so it is the comics that is laying off, not the MCU. Yeah, it's the publishing division, right?
Yeah. I mean, so there hasn't been a lot of layoffs in, the movie industry yet, but in a way there has been, right? Because nothing's being made, so no one's getting paid. So it's not a layoff, but it's stagnation, because if you're an actor, you're a writer, you're a director, in a way, it's almost like a contract position. If you're not actively doing something, you're kind of out of work effectively,
And apparently, though, other things are being looked at. ESPN, Searchlight Pictures, Studios marketing arm, Broadway, I'm assuming Broadway theatrical
So
stage team. Yeah,
so this is the
yeah.
other side of acquisitions, right?
Hmm.
And I kind of alluded to this earlier on. When you buy up a whole bunch of different enterprises, you take what's valuable and then you liquidate the chaff, so to speak. And now almost everything is becoming chaff, right? ESPN is not making money. Sports are not making money. Again, a lot of people will argue that's partly because of CV. It's partly because of the get woke go broke stuff. The Kaepernick effect is happening. It is. It just is. This isn't just my bias. We see it happening.
Hmm.
You know, and now if you're sitting there holding something that's not making money, you got to sell it. You got to get rid of it. But no one wants to buy it because there's no value there.
Yeah.
See?
And yeah, definitely, because it's you're and plus also I think people use these things for escapes. They don't go to these things for lectures, whether it's going to a sports game or whether
Right.
it's
You're
going
going
to
to
a
root
movie.
for your favorite team.
Yeah,
You're not there to be lectured about, BLM or something.
maybe you're there to escape the politics of your life, whatever side you're on. You just want to go and have a good time with a crowd and not have to worry about that thing for a couple
Exactly.
hours.
You can make an argument over, getting a message across in a comic book or in a Star Trek episode or something like that. You can't do that with a football game. It makes no sense. It's completely incompatible. What's happening in the election, for example, has nothing to do with whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers are winning the game this week or not.
Yeah. So I'm thinking
Pittsburgh Steelers are football, right? I was keeping this consistent. I don't know
Steelers.
from sports balls.
Oh my goodness! I hope they're not hockey. Anyway, I know a little bit about sports. I didn't come from a sports household either, but
Do we have
you know
hockey
what?
in the
If you
United
like
States? I
sports,
thought that was just a Canadian thing.
what? What are you talking about? What?
I'm goofing. I'm just goofing.
I didn't hear what you said. Okay,
I
never
know
mind.
Chicago has a hockey team.
Florida has a hockey team, the Tampa Bay
How do
Lightning.
you have a hockey team? You don't even have ice there.
You can make ice in a stadium, smart guy.
What do you do? Rollerblades or some stuff?
Oh my goodness! I've been to Lightning games. We used to have a player called Igor Yulanov. Okay.
Is that the Jamaican bobsled team? I mean, how does this work?
We have a hockey team in Florida, smart guy.
Okay.
Okay. I don't even know why we're talking. This is not a sports stream anyway, but apparently ESPN.
Clearly it's not, from my lack of knowledge.
I don't know. You know what? That might have been something I could get into now that everything else I liked was getting ruined, but now they're ruining sports too. So there we go. Okay, Searchlight Pictures.
That 3-minute chunk out as just a little sports topic to make a little.
Troy and I discuss sports. Yeah, that'll be great. Okay. But yeah, and I'm just thinking Searchlight Pictures. That was the Fox indie arm. I can't imagine they're making any money right now because they don't have theaters. So, and Broadway.
Which is sad because you think indie films, you think that's where they should actually be focusing more. But
even indie films, they were what I would call topical, but they weren't always in your face about it. They would bring things up. And you think about the issue.
And it was always that avant-garde, crazy stuff there where they're just trying something, but they're doing it on a low budget, so it's usually not a huge risk, right? And that's oftentimes where you get some of your best stories, is the people taking risks. We've said it about all of these franchises that we love so much. In the beginning, there was nothing comparable to it, and somebody was taking a chance. George Lucas with Star Wars, for example. There was no canon. There was nothing. There was no fan base that you had to appease. It was just my idea of a new story, and people loved it, and it blew up. And now you have something to upkeep and a responsibility.
Yeah, and people are abandoning that responsibility for other reasons, other agendas. So that's what it feels like these days.
Melissa Harris is talking about the Marvel DC crossovers of the past.
Yeah, Matchstick mentioned this as well. The first Marvel DC crossover with Spider-Man was Spider-Man and Superman. I have that comic book.
Yep. And there have been a lot
large
since
comic
then.
book.
And believe it or not, there had been just before the Disney acquisition and stuff, it was starting to look like there might have been cause for there to be another crossover. They were thinking about that. They were this close to it. You can't see what I'm doing, but this close. And then Disney bought up Marvel, and that pretty much put the kibosh on it. But it was at a time when again, there was a slump in the market, and both DC and Marvel were going, hey, it would behoove both of us to prop each other up and do a little Superman versus Spider-Man story just to generate some sales for both of us.
We're not going to get that these days. The closest we got to though was the Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was fun.
Okay. I think when it's going to happen next is when Warner Brothers goes kaput and Disney ends up buying it. Well, but Disney's in no position to do that either. So something's got to happen where somebody decides to buy up Disney and Warner Brothers, and then there can be a crossover.
And we'll have Batman fight Darth Vader.
Oh my gosh!
They did a fan movie of that. Have you ever seen it?
I was just thinking that don't let anyone at Disney get that option, because the fans have already done it and done it better. Yes. I like the fact that you've seen that. I take it. Did you see that there's two versions? One where Batman wins and one where Vader wins.
Oh no, I saw the one where Vader won. Okay,
yeah, and they're starting to do that a lot now. Now they take the fan vote and they say, here's who won, and then they give it to you. But then there's always the alternate that they've already filmed, and they make that like the DVD extra type of thing.
Does this mean Darth Vader's more popular than Batman?
I think that it doesn't always have to do with popularity. It also has to do with it just makes sense. I mean, the guy with the magic, and I don't care how prepared Batman is. There's only so much that, in fact, the Batman wins scenario, it's not really Batman beating Darth Vader. It's Batman pulled a contingency where he had already freed Superman so that Superman could come and help him.
But Superman's susceptible to magic as well.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, you got the two of them working together. You break his concentration. I mean, there's that evens the playing field for him. That was basically what the storyline was. And you give the win to Batman because he thought ahead and he knew what he had to do.
He used his brain.
Yeah. But and that's fair. That's reasonable.
Auditor Dread says John Nee had only been at Marvel for 2 years. I wonder if Tom Brevoort or Joe Quesada will be laid off. I don't know. I'm thinking we'll be hearing more as the year ends and the next year begins.
I don't think they're done with their layoffs.
Oh no, I think they're beginning.
This is just the beginning. Let me just say that. But Disney did release their fourth quarter earnings report, and they did try to put a positive spin on it as they were talking about their wondrous streaming service, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're more cynical about this than I am, I think.
I'm just realistic, I think, in my opinion. That's just what I think.
I look at Disney, they're failing in some areas, but they're doing well in others. I think this Disney Plus thing, I mean, maybe this is a spin on their part.
Yeah.
But I know that even analysts had not predicted this amount this early.
Sure.
73.7 million subscribers. And I do think the price point is $6.99 a month. Okay. Especially in this bad economic downturn.
Yep.
I'm thinking, if you're a parent, you got kids at home, get Disney for $6.99 a month. They get all the Disney cartoons and shows and things they want to watch, and they can, I don't know. What do I know?
So that in and of itself says something. 73.7 million sounds like a whole lot, but at that price point, is it really? Then when you keep in mind that not all of those subscriptions are those 6-something paid subscriptions. So many of them are bundled and they're free introductory rates. So how many of those are going to continue when the time comes for them to say, you got this free with your whatever subscription, now you got to pay for it. Oh, I didn't want it in the first place. And they drop it.
Yeah.
See? And the other thing that makes me I don't
So,
know if
like,
you
you have
pay.
it for a month, you drop it, but they count that as you as one of these
Right
70.
now, they're counting it as the subscription.
Okay.
Absolutely. And they're calling it a, in quotes, paid subscription because they paid for the bundle. So they're getting something out of it, but it's certainly not the $6, a month.
But I'm telling you, though, Morgan Stanley estimates 230 million by the end of 2025.
That's fine. But then when you start looking at our next headline is that along with all of this, Disney reports a $5 billion loss. Now that, of course, takes into account their whole business. That's the Marvel Comics and that's the parks and that's everything. But that's a $5 billion loss for the year. So that's great that you have all this streaming going and, you got so many subscriptions. You still lost $5 billion. Nobody cares about anything else but that. That is your bottom line. So put as positive a spin on it as you want and say, we're looking to the future and the future is streaming and we're going to be profitable. Don't care. This year, you lost $5 billion. There's no dividends going out. Your investors are not happy.
Well, they're going to blame it on the pandemic.
They can blame it on whatever they want. The reality is you lost money. You can cut whatever you want to cut. Close up Disneyland, sell off Marvel Comics, do whatever you need to do, but start getting profitable. Because tell me all about how many streams you have. You're still losing money. Until it starts making money, I don't care about that.
Ongoing pandemic cost $7.4 billion in operating income. Theme parks, quote unquote, experiences. I don't know what that is. Is that like the cruise lines?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, consumer products, which I find interesting. So no one's going to the Disney store in the mall. But that also includes Marvel Comics, and I assumed a lot of this has to do have a lot of comic book stores closed down since the pandemic started.
Absolutely.
So where are you going to buy your
Just
comics
like the
from?
movie companies are closing because there's no movies to show. The comic book companies are closing because nobody's buying the comics. And Leia Plus Size says makes a great point. I think Disney may be hiding something to try to make it look like everything is fine, but it's not. Yeah, you got to look when you see a positive spin like, oh, look at our 73 million subscribers. Okay, great. But you're laying off people. You're at a loss of $5 billion for the year. Yeah. I mean, they're hiding something, and that's that they've whatever caused them to lose that much money. And you can blame whatever you want, but the facts are the facts. But one of the things I said to you, Age Boomer, earlier when we were talking about this, what was on our docket for the day, is I said that $5 billion, it doesn't mean anything and it's not a correlation, but I do find it ironic. $5 billion. What else was $5 billion in relation to Disney? They spent $5 billion to acquire Lucasfilm.
Yeah, it's kind of so now that
and it hasn't really made back what they had intended to make back. Now, I'm not saying that $5 billion equates to the $5 billion that they.
Star Wars is a moneymaker.
It's meant to be, but it's certainly not making them the money they need it to
make a movie about Yoda's left butt cheek, and that's all that's on the screen. It'll make money.
I don't know. Solo lost money.
Yeah, I know. That was my joke. I made that.
And that's just it. And now, although it's not what we're going to get into this week, it's starting to look like Mandalorian's starting to drop off, and that's what's left of their cash cow there.
Yeah,
that's what's keeping them above water with Star Wars.
Do you want to hear what CEO Bob Chapek said?
Please tell me.
He said the real bright spot has been our direct-to-consumer business, which is key to the future of the company. Now, does that satisfy you as a stockholder?
Not at all, because I'm still not seeing the dividend check. And what I do see from the marketing standpoint is, and I think it's clever, but it's still poorly executed. So a lot of the products that they would normally be selling at the Disney parks, those exclusives, the what do you call it? The Star Wars, whatever. whatever the tchotchkes are that you have to go to Star Wars World at
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge. Yeah.
Yes.
They're selling them now online through their Disney store because you can't go to the parks to get them.
You mean I can buy a droid and build it online and have it sent to me?
Yep. Well,
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know about that specifically, but
Darn it.
I know that the whatever the salacious crumb that you put on your shoulder that you can buy, lightsabers, you can buy the Dejaric table, or you could. But what happened was they put it up, and like this, they were gone. So no, you can't. They're all sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an issue there with the marketing. So
you think so?
same problem I have with Hasbro. That's a whole different topic, but that's not making them back their $5 billion for the year.
That'll be a good thing to bring up around Christmas time, maybe, about what Hasbro's been up to since they're toy related. But
yeah, I should do a Krampus talk, huh?
yeah. Leia Plus Size says, Trump Jelly, do you guys feel Disney Plus will pick up when the MCU start to stream?
Maybe.
I think they will.
When you say that, when you said in your earlier comment that you think Disney's hiding something, I'll say that in that specific area, I think there's something going on that I'm not seeing, because where is WandaVision? WandaVision's a streaming thing. There was no question about whether that was going to streaming at all. It was always going to streaming. And I thought it was completed and in the bag, but they've pushed it back the release date. Why? It makes no sense. If you're trying to keep those 73 million people, that are streaming, you want to give them as much content as possible. So I don't really understand what's going on with WandaVision there. And if we don't get WandaVision, what else are they going to give us? Because there's nothing else being made to put out there.
Well, Mandalorian.
No, I mean specifically in the MCU.
Oh, MCU, yeah.
What I was talking about.
They advertised that at the Super Bowl. I remember seeing commercials for that. I remember seeing the commercials for Falcon, Winter Soldier series. I remember seeing a commercial for Loki, the series, and we have seen none of these three. But
yep, that's exactly right.
And I don't know if they just shot like a quick thing just for the promo, and then they hadn't made the series yet, because I thought those were scenes from the series I was watching. You
got me. I thought the same thing, and when it doesn't happen, it's like you can't afford to sit on something that's finished. So I have to assume it's not finished. But if it's not finished, when is it ever going to be finished? And again, it falls under that whole, by the time they do put it out, who's going to care anymore? The people that followed from, the first Avenger and Incredible Hulk and all those movies, first Iron Man movie, up through, the Infinity War, they're going to grow up, have kids, and be moved on to something else. They'll be taking their kids to see the Teletubbies movie that's coming out in 30 years or something.
What?
I'm making things up. Like,
I hope
in
so.
In the future, I don't know.
Why are you bringing up Teletubbies on my stream?
I'm just saying, I don't know what they're going to be doing for kids in 30 years. I mean,
did you see? You did probably. I know you're not an X-Files fan. They had an episode in the final season that they had, and there were evil Teletubbies in an episode.
Dude, you're talking to somebody who's a fan of creepypastas. And they've done some things there that I have nightmares.
Okay, all right. Well, that might be a topic for another time. But back to the
then
drawing
again,
board.
Tinky Winky scares the heck out of me just as he is. You don't have to do a creepypasta about him.
Back to the drawing board says Mandalorian is drying up. I
won't have to suffer seeing Baby Yoda memes anymore. Say it ain't so. I'm not saying it is or it isn't so. I'm just saying that the ratings appear to have dropped from some of the reports that I've seen, and we'll talk about that more probably next week or later in
we're wanting confirmation on this, and we're figuring if this is so, it's going to keep happening. So
yeah.
we're gonna wait and see how this all plays out.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts on that one that I don't have confirmation on yet. I want to do my due diligence before we get too much into that. I don't want to be like the mainstream media. I want to give you a solid report.
Yes. But speaking of solid reports, now we can get away from nerd culture and talk about
And just
serious cinema.
oh yeah. You know, what do you call it? The upper class of the entertainment industry, right? The Oscars. Ah, so I guess Cuties is up for an Oscar.
Okay, here's the story. Yeah. Okay, this is about Oscars. I did a little bit of research on this too. Oh yeah, but anyway, sorry. Let's go back though. Cuties. Okay, it's on the French shortlist for international feature film category.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and it looks like the Oscar selection committee will. Okay, let me cut that part out on the edit. Okay, will re. What did I write here?
We had a moment of dead air. We got to take
What
that
is
out.
this? Will can he?
Again, they don't edit these articles.
No,
It's
but this is my own
ridiculous.
handwriting, so I'm the one
Oh,
who's
okay.
okay.
You don't edit your own writing. What's
I-
wrong with you, Agent Boomer?
Listen to me. I wrote this out by hand. We had a lot of stories to cover tonight. Okay. Let's okay, it's on the French okay, never mind. Let's start over. Cuties. Okay, is in the news. Okay, apparently it's on the it's going to be an Oscar contender. It's on the French shortlist for international feature film category. That used to be foreign language category. They changed it in 2020 to international feature film. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not sure why that change happened, but they changed it to international. Okay. And apparently, the Oscar selection committee will reach a decision on November 19th to decide on the final submission. Now, I was kind of confused because it's on the French short list and they can only have 5 movies. For the foreign film, each company selects their own one movie to send to the Academy. Did you know that?
No, but
This is
makes sense.
okay, and I didn't realize this. Okay, and apparently, according to Wikipedia, each country is invited to submit what it thinks is its best film to the Academy. Only one film per country. And another prerequisite is it cannot be in English. Like there was even a Nigerian film recently that couldn't be submitted because most of the language was in English. So, and I know there are some films from Great Britain that sometimes you need the subtitles for too, but they're still in English. Okay, and it's
so foreign means non-English.
it means foreign language, which is what I consider to be.
That's
that
specifically the title. Gotcha.
And I understand that, and I'm fine with that being a category for film.
Gotcha.
Now they changed it to international, which makes it more confusing because
that's where I was getting lost. Yeah,
there are plenty of international countries that speak English, like
exactly.
Singapore.
If you're going to call it international, I mean, again, we're talking language here. Language has meaning. If you say international, it means outside the U.S. That's Britain. That's New Zealand. That's Australia. You know?
Yeah.
If it's going to be foreign language, then call it that.
Yeah, and well, that's what they used to call it up until 2020. Now they changed it because did someone complain? Is the word foreign bad now?
Because man, I'll tell you, I'll get a Klingon movie made because I can probably win an Oscar this year because there ain't nothing else going up against it.
You could. I wonder if that would work. Could you have like I want nothing?
It would be an independent film, sure.
Could you have a Klingon foreign language film and then submit it in the foreign because it's a foreign language?
Absolutely. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with Star Trek. It would just be in another language.
That's interesting.
I mean, William Shatner did a movie in Esperanto. Why not?
Incubus, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Good trivia there. Very good.
Olea plus sizes weren't cuties. Are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding you. It's on the short list, and it may become the French nomination. We'll be following this story.
Yeah, well, so one of the things we were pointing out, and we were kind of getting at this, is that this year, what movies have been released at all? There is nothing to choose from. And I mean, we all know the Oscars at this point are a freaking joke anyway, but this just tops it. I mean, if you are, and my analogy would be if you are, Michelin, and you give the 5 stars to the best of the best, restaurants, right? If something were to happen that caused all the best restaurants to close up, you wouldn't start giving out 5 stars to McDonald's. But that's kind of what the Oscars is doing.
Hey, if it's all that's around.
That's why I'm thinking, have to maintain a standard, right? And there is nothing. If the Oscars cared about their status, they would say, you know what? There's just not enough competition this year. There isn't going to be an Oscars this year, and all the better, because we don't want everybody getting together when we're trying to social distance. Wow. So we're gonna virtue signal, and we're not even going to do the Oscars this year.
Well, we're having the Oscars this year, and it's going to be the different nominations.
It's going to be all the crap that nobody cared about, and no one went to the theaters to see.
Cuties could not even win Best International Picture. It could be one of the 9 if we think about it. What could be up for the 9? I was thinking of movies that were released.
I would say that it can't be up for the 9. It couldn't be up for like Best Picture because it wasn't released in theaters. That's a big problem with their selection method.
But I think. Good point, but I think isn't the rule even for the foreign language category has to be released in theaters? Perhaps it was released
released in France originally.
It was released in France, and maybe Sundance aired it the first day before they had to shut down the festival or something. I don't know. Maybe it was shown.
I think
somewhere.
It was shown at Cannes. Yeah,
it was shown somewhere, and it did. So it can be. So I don't know. That's a good point. Does it have to? But yeah, this is just. But yeah, I don't know. It's this movie keeps popping up in the news. It doesn't go away.
It is. It's like a bad penny and nobody really cares about it. There is really nobody who really cares about it except for their virtue signaling. We got to defend it because, other people don't like it. It's really ridiculous BS. And the fact that and everyone that tries to prop it up just ends up looking more and more stupid.
But I was thinking of the 9. What movies have been released theatrically this year? We have Bad Boys for Life, right? Which I think was the best box office picture so far this year, actually.
What's that other one? Tenet.
Tenet. Oh, Tenet.
Tenet was released.
Yeah. We had the Fantasy Island motion picture where they made the old television show into a horror movie by Blumhouse, and it wasn't good.
Was the Banana Splits this year too?
That would have been last year's Oscars. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. No.
I'm having a hard time even thinking of movies that came out this year.
So you're thinking Oscars should just be postponed until we actually have theatrical releases again? And
if they cared at all about their reputation, absolutely.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to be very curious though to see if France actually submits this movie.
Actually, I think it'll be. I'm going to go back on what I said. Yeah, I am glad the Oscars are going on this year, so that they could be that much more of a laughing stock to everybody.
Did you watch last year's Oscars at all?
No, I never watched the Oscars.
I used to watch them when they had the 5 nominees. When they went to 9, I'm like, this is stupid. And what happened was, I think Bret Easton Ellis, he had a podcast, and he argued that the Oscars didn't nominate The Dark Knight for Best Picture 1 year, and I don't know if it was during a 9 year as well. No, or no, maybe it was during a 5 year, and people argued, listen, it was arguably one of the better movies released that year, even from a production standpoint, just cinematography wise. It should have at least gotten a nomination. You didn't have to give it the win.
Well, it's very much becoming the whole, who are these people in the Academy and why do I care what they think? It's just a bunch of hoity-toity people who think who the heck they are in a circle. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I'll be keeping a close tab on this one.
Blumhouse ruins everything, Melissa Harris.
They've had a couple movies I've liked, but yeah, most of them are kind of trash. But anyway, in fact, I watched a Blumhouse movie recently that had Amanda Siegfried. Am I saying her name right?
I think so.
And Kevin Bacon was in it, and he was her husband. And I'm thinking there's a bit of an age difference there.
Yeah. That's
But
a little April, December.
yeah, yeah. And but to be fair, they kept bringing it up in the movie.
Oh, okay. So that
Like
was
the
part of the
daughter,
story.
their daughter said, "Are you gonna die before mommy?" And he's like, "Oh Lord," But
Right.
it wasn't that good of a film. But it took place in an interesting house, though. But I think that was one that skipped the theater and went straight to video. But
Probably for the best.
speaking of movies, maybe we have some quasi good news. Maybe
Maybe.
interesting news,
So
regardless.
well, first we got to say that with all the junk that's been going on and all the cinemas seeming to close up, it's really hitting the cinemas hard. They were really counting on Tenet to do a good job, and it didn't save the movie industry. Now they're looking at releasing things directly to stream. We had the whole situation with Mulan and Trolls and so forth. Well, there is another option. It's starting to look like The Croods, A New Age, will be an exclusive drive-in release. So there's something. Maybe the future, the post CV future is drive-ins again. Maybe.
Any fans of the Croods in the chat?
I loved the first Croods.
Okay.
That I really did like that.
I didn't see it, so I don't know. I can't speak to one way or the other. It was
I mean, it's one of those,
it's about cave people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it was actually pretty good, and I liked it. It's one of those things where you kind of are nail biting about sequels. Is the sequel gonna suck? Are they gonna be able to recapture the magic? But really, the only thing we're talking about here is the release model. I wish there was more drive-ins around me, but Netter and I loved going to the local drive-in that unfortunately closed up 2 years ago. Hopefully it reopens now. And there is still one or two within a couple hours of us that, for a Saturday night might be fun to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
dun, dun, dun! Yeah. So there's this character that
I see.
one of the cavemen has a sidekick or whatever he calls Belt, because he's like this little monkey type character that holds him around the waist to hold his pants up, and he calls him Belt. Is it a lemur? Something like that, yeah, or some ancient version of it. And whenever someone says something that is this little guy will go dun dun dun, like to give it the background music or whatever. It's just a gag.
Because that's before they had
It's a sloth. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. It's a sloth, sure.
Okay, cool. But apparently this is an exclusive drive-in coming to Universal City Walk, November 19th to the 24th, and a donation of $10 per car, but Universal will donate $10 for each ticket to Feeding America. Nice. So that's nice. It's a charitable thing. That's good. A giant LED screen. It actually sounds like a lot of fun for the family. You get like a little snack box. You get to I think they have a recreation of the stuff in the movie you can go look at, and yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun.
And we had talked about how during the warmer months, it looked like the drive-ins that were in operation were seeing a pickup, because it didn't really, this whole social distancing didn't really affect them. I even saw the marquee on one of the drive-ins said social distancing since 1969 or something like that. I'm like, that's kind of funny. However, we're now kind of coming to the end of what's generally considered to be the drive-in season. So, that's kind of a bummer. Unless the drive-ins do like this one out of Ohio, Autorama, which has decided to stay open through the winter because of what's been going on lately.
Yeah, I have a quote. This is in Northeast Ohio, correct?
Yep.
And business is booming. It says, we're seeing an opportunity. This is by the co-owner, Del Sherman. He's saying we're seeing an opportunity for people to get out, enjoy some time with the family, get to see some classics, see some stuff that's getting released slowly. And with indoor theaters still closed, we're providing an opportunity for people to enjoy some good old fashioned entertainment. Hey,
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
and they're
And
even making upgrades to the drive-in. They're getting new screens. Like this was an old-fashioned drive-in, but now they're actually adding.
well, now see there's more dimension to that. So
Mhm,
our local drive-in, the Cascade, in West Chicago here, they there was a there was a standardization that happened in the regular cinemas where everything was going digital.
mhm.
Well, the drive-ins by mandate had to, you know, do the same thing. So they spent the money to get all digital recording or digital projectors and stuff, and it's a shame because just a year after doing that, that's when they closed up. But so digital projectors and the upgrades were mandatory and standard. But this idea of staying open through the winter months, as I was sharing with you before the show, it's not new either. I mean, a lot of drive-ins haven't been doing it, but I remember back in the 70s, going to drive-ins, into the winter months, and you could go to the concession stand and you could get your popcorn, your candy, and you could rent a heater that you'd plug in to heat up the inside of your car, so you didn't have to have your car running. And so apparently that's what these drive-ins that are currently staying open through the winter months are doing. So this isn't new. It's an option.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I am not familiar with drive-ins at all. Is it equivalent to going to see something in a theater? Have you liked doing it? I mean, do you like it better? I'm curious. I'm
Going to
just
a
genuinely
drive-in,
curious.
sure. Usually it's a double feature. Usually,
Hmm.
and but actually, I think, to be honest with you, in some ways, I'd say it's better than going to a cinema because there is that built-in social distancing, right? I could be on my phone and I'm not bothering anyone else. The guy in the next car could be on his phone and it's not bothering me at all. The kids could be making all kinds of noise. That doesn't matter. It's in their car. It's not bothering me any. I can put up my windows. You get a nice evening breeze, or in the wintertime, you just close up and snuggle up in a blanket, kick off your shoes, whatever. Yeah, perfectly fine. And nowadays, with the stereo sound and it comes over the radio, you don't have to use that little squawk. You can use the squawk box for nostalgia purposes, but you can also get it over your FM radio, so you still get it in stereo.
Cool. And
So
there's a use for your car radio then.
exactly, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's neat that drive-ins are making a comeback. Maybe not all is
Hopefully they
lost
are.
for
Yeah,
movies, and
yeah.
maybe if we can just make the switch over, if we're stuck in this lovely social distancing nightmare for another year or so, I don't know when it's going to end. I thought it would be over by now, but
But if Hollywood continues to melt down, I don't know what they're going to be showing at these drive-ins, unless they're just going to keep doing, what they've been doing and just showing old movies over again, which actually isn't such a bad thing. New audience for old movies is pretty good,
yeah,
because I'll tell you, I'm looking at the future of the movie industry, and I am not real fired up about what I'm seeing. Look at, I mean, look at our next piece of business here. Look at the Blade movie.
I have a question. I've been very confused on this too.
Hmm.
I've heard it's called a Blade movie. I've heard it called a Blade series. Is it for Disney Plus or is this for a theatrical release? This is confusing me all over.
Well, my understanding is it was going to be a new movie,
Okay, yeah,
but
that's
it
what it
was
said in the article, but I thought I heard somewhere else that it was a series. That's why I
but
was
it
getting
was
confused.
very unclear if it was meant to be. And see, I didn't even know if it was going to be a completely new series, so a reboot, a reimagining, different timeline, or if it was meant to be a continuation of the previous movies. I am not clear on that at all.
It'll
I
be a
I
reboot.
I suspect it's going to be a reboot that ties it into the greater MCU, which would kind of make sense.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Mahershala Ali is going to be in it, and we've seen him in a Marvel series before. He was Cottonmouth on Luke Cage.
That's right. And wasn't he also the villain or one of the villains in Alita?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
And
great casting. I think.
Yeah, he was in the Oscar winner. That actually, a couple years ago, Green Book. That was actually a good movie that won the Oscar. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. But I'll tell you, I'm not too fired up about the way they're looking at the rest of their talents. As soon as you start using race as a determining factor in who you hire, I consider that racist.
Yeah, the part of the article is that Marvel is searching for black writers and black filmmakers for the Blade series, and they argue they did that with Black Panther, all black cast and crew, which is wrong because you had Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman in Black Panther, so it wasn't an all black cast.
Right.
I almost wish Andy Serkis hadn't been in that movie though, but I won't go off on a tangent there.
Well, but I would also argue there's the difference is just like I feel strongly about the casting of characters that are historically white. If you are casting characters for Black Panther, it's set in an African nation, albeit a fictional one. It's appropriate. You cast it appropriately.
Right.
Does that mean you specifically need to have writers behind the scene? Maybe if they know African culture, maybe that's who you hire. I would say you brought up the example of Luke Cage. It's set in Harlem, in a black community. So you want a black, okay, fine. That makes perfect sense. You always want someone to write what they know. That seems reasonable to me. This one, not so much. Why do you need a black writer for Blade? Just because the main character is black?
Yeah, I have a comment here. It's almost like I've noticed that they tend to expand diversity during Phase 4. I noticed the Black Widow director woman, Captain Marvel director woman, and I know that they're doing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I know that the director is half Japanese descent. So I don't know if
at least it's half. At least
that's my point. I'm wondering, does Disney think black writers and black filmmakers can only do a series if there's a black character? I made that comment in here too.
I mean, can I get a job if I'm like 1/16 Native American? I mean, this is getting kind of ridiculous.
And it's not that I even take any issue. Of course, if hire who's best suited for this particular series, but it's I don't know. And apparently it's not a series. It started out as a TV show, I found out.
Oh, okay.
It was initially planned as a TV show. Now it's going to be a movie. So they weren't clear on that. Okay.
I wouldn't be too surprised, though, if it comes full circle and they go, you know what, let's go back to making it a series and we'll put it out on Disney Plus.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, this seems to be a trend going forward with it, though. We'll see what else they have planned.
So let me ask you this, because we've had this discussion in the past about actors being replaced with CG. If we replace an actor with CG, does that mean that you're not casting an actor of color? You're casting a computer algorithm?
I guess it would depend who's voicing the character.
Okay, good point, because that's our next our next little news article.
Wait, can we halt for a minute?
Okay, sure.
If you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely.
Melissa Harris brought up the fact that the real Blade was Wesley Snipes. I meant to bring this up during the Blade conversation, though, but I don't think we'd have a modern superhero cinema if it wasn't for Wesley Snipes and Blade.
That's a good point.
Because everything had fallen apart before that movie. Before that movie came out. Batman and Robin came out the year before. And
what, you didn't like Batman and Robin?
I still to this day cannot watch it all the way through without having to shut it off. I watched it in pieces. Did you like it?
You didn't enjoy the bat nipples?
There's a YouTube video where they show all the worst
Everybody
scenes and then they have the fail music.
Keep cool.
I'm absolutely agree with you, Wolfden Media. I loved Luke Cage, and I don't know why it's not canon with the MCU. That was the best thing.
Well,
I thought
it's
that was
the
the
right
best of the
between
Netflix series.
Netflix and Disney, and that's a whole different ball of wax mess.
Well, Maybe they'll have the actor at least reprise the role someday in the MCU.
But you're right. The superhero movies were on a decline, and then they did Blade, and it was kind of a stealth superhero movie, right? Because they didn't really bill it as a superhero movie.
They did not. I didn't know.
An action adventure vampire film.
It's an action movie.
Yeah.
And think about it at the time too. You know, a black leading man, Wesley Snipes. He had a black woman as the co-star, his assistant, but she wasn't even a romance interest either. You know.
Yeah.
All the things they say that we should be doing now, they were doing back then. And
right.
I don't
know. And again, it wasn't to virtue signal. It's just because that's what the story called for. They put the story first.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. Anyway, we'll see how the series turns out. I mean, but we'll see. I don't like this trend. Mahershala Ali. That it's actually how I actually pronounced it right when I first said it the first time. He's a good actor, and I do hope, you know. So we'll see how it turns out. But again, this is a trend that disturbs me a little bit. So
yeah, he's a good actor, and I want to see him in the role and not a computer algorithm.
Exactly. Okay, there we go.
Because I don't know where this came from. I don't know when this was ever even a question, but apparently Marvel will not use a digital double for Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther 2. I didn't even know this was a question.
Well, I sent this. Well, this goes back to our discussion when I went on the tangent about them using. You get to play Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker by putting on a digital mask, like they do on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or in the Marvel movies, where you put on the person's face and, you know, you're another person.
And my argument at the time was, if you have this iconic, you know, person who's always played the role, and you want to go back and do a prequel or something, and you want to, you know, young Luke Skywalker, okay, fine, I can kind of see that. That I don't really feel like applies here. Chadwick Boseman played Black Panther in what, 2 movies?
Technically 4, because you had the 2 Endgame movies, the last.
But those were almost like cameo roles. They were barely. Yeah. He was barely there. And when you also consider this is a character who half the time he's on screen, he's wearing a mask, and you don't even see his face.
Yeah,
that's the easiest time to recast somebody. And I mean, let's face it, there's been precedent for it even in the Marvel universe. They've had 3 different people play the Hulk. They've had 2 different people play War Machine. You can recast. It can be done.
They got rid of what's his name? They replaced him with I'm losing names.
Don Cheadle, yeah.
Yeah, Don Cheadle, who was on Picket Fences. John Cheadle's getting kind of old, though. I've been noticing.
Yeah, and that becomes a problem too. What do you do when an actor dies, when they get too old to play the character? The character is supposed to be a younger person, especially when you're talking about, you know, not. I think this would apply more if we were talking about Blade, right? You can't have Blade getting old. You know, he's got to be ageless. You know, so if they have to recast him or CG him down or whatever they have to do, to keep it reasonable, you know?
Yeah. And I know you're talking about they can just recast, but I still think that out of the new actors they had in these roles, Chadwick did make the most impression on me, at least more than Brie Larson. And
definitely. Well, and it's tragic. Okay. It really is. Yeah. And if I had a choice, I wouldn't want him recast. I want him back. The world, nature, God had other plans. He's gone. Yeah. So we don't get that option.
Do you know what my idea was? And they wouldn't do it now because they have too much invested, but it's like they should recast Black Panther, but maybe they should just reboot everything at this point. What do you think? It's not going to happen, obviously.
It's not going to make it any better. I mean, it's and they are low key trying to reboot everything. That's what it looks like phase 4 is, with WandaVision and the multiverse of madness and Into the Spider-Verse and all of this other stuff they're talking about. They clearly are trying to suggest alternate timelines, you know, alternate histories, you know, pick and choose what you want, which is which is an absolute mess, to be honest with you. For as elegant as the Marvel Universe was setting up to be, this intricate tapestry that they had going like an orchestra, and now it's just a bunch of people playing jazz on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, though, the fact that it was as good as it was for so long was kind of, I mean, a great planning on their part. I mean, but I think the trouble is the success went to their heads, maybe. Because it
Yeah.
seemed like we can't fail. That's what kind of happened. Like every
And
movie they
if I was
released.
going to be a little bit more pessimistic about it, I'd say, they did their Trojan horse thing and they got the fans that they wanted, and now they don't have to worry about story. Now they can just preach.
Mm-hmm.
But you see how well that's working out when you between that and people losing interest and not being able to get anything finished because of the pandemic. You can preach all you want, but you're going to be preaching to an empty church.
Yeah. And let's see. But Yellow Flash was talking about something, instant regret for Marvel Comics.
Yeah. So this is going back to what we were talking about before with the layoffs over at Marvel and whatnot. There have been such terrible cuts over at Marvel Comics. You remember what was it, Safe Space and whatever piddly character,
Safe Space and oh no, I don't even remember now.
whatever. It doesn't matter because they're
Snowflake
not.
and Safe Space.
Yeah, because
We're
they're not
taking back
happening.
the names. We're making them positive.
Those
Okay.
comics never even got released. They're done. They've been canceled. All the new titles that they were planning are on the kibosh, and they're looking to possibly be cutting more titles. It's getting bad. It's everything. Frankly, I mean, he doesn't need our support, but it's everything Ethan Van Sciver's been saying for a couple years now. That's and I don't see any reason for us to spend too much time on it. I dropped the link there. I think that Yellow Flash goes into it a lot deeper than we can, because he knows that industry better than we do. But it's looking bad for Marvel Comics, Marvel Publishing. And let's face it, the only reason Disney even keeps it around anymore is because those are their IPs, right? And why, we've talked about this before, why do they keep canceling and re-releasing, rebooting Captain Marvel? Because they need to keep the IP alive. They need to hold on to that intellectual property, so that DC Comics doesn't come and take the name, and do that again, because they want to.
You think they can do it though?
That DC could, sure. If you go long enough not using an IP, it falls into public domain and someone else can scoop it up. Yeah, look into there's a whole history of the name Captain Marvel.
Oh yes. Oh, that's a long, complicated history. Yeah,
and it happened to DC it happened to DC Comics. I should say to Fawcett Comics, that was then acquired by DC. And by the time DC got a hold of it, they'd lost the rights to the name Captain Marvel because Marvel bought it up, and they put out their own Captain Marvel, and now it's their name.
It was interesting on the Justice League cartoons when they did have Captain Marvel showed up. They could speak his name in the show, but they couldn't have the name written. Okay,
exactly. They can't call the title. The title of the comic can't be Captain Marvel, even though the character can be Captain Marvel. Because
and in the movie they didn't call him Captain Marvel either. He didn't have a name at that point. I don't know if they were going to eventually call him Captain Thunder, or that was his original name before I think Captain Marvel. But I don't know if I like the sound of that as much as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but if you even think about it, even Captain Marvel sounds kind of goofy these days. Not that Shazam is a great superhero name, but I could also see them, if they were to use him in the greater DC universe, what do we call the guy with the lightning bolt? I go by Captain Marvel. That sounds stupid, and then never actually address it. I don't know.
They could call him Captain Lightning, and then he could team up with Black Lightning, and you'd have a superhero team up.
I don't know.
That's dead air.
I just see somebody saying, wait, we have Black Lightning and Captain Lightning, so the black guy can't be a captain.
Yeah,
The white guy has to outrank him. I don't know.
I'm
I
not
just
touching
see that
that
being
with
a
a 10-foot
problem.
pole. That's what would happen. I just got us. I just got the comic industry into trouble by saying that. Okay, so no Captain Lightning, Captain Thunder.
I don't know. It's all just a mess.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's what's happening over at Marvel Comics. You want to go over to DC now and see what their woes are like?
Let's go see what DC is like. Let's do it.
So just as we were talking about with Marvel deciding that they're going to be exploring the multiverse, now apparently the DC universe may move away from one shared continuity. So they're not even trying anymore. Now they're just going to do, they're just going to release movies for these characters and forget about the overarching interrelation of these films, apparently.
Okay, I have some notes on this.
Uh-huh.
Let me see. DC may be moving away from a shared continuity. Now, what does this mean to you?
So this idea that they've been trying to get their Snyderverse to work is not working, and it's very clear that it's not working. So despite all the news that we've been hearing about this Flashpoint movie, and they're trying to bring in all the people that have played different DC characters, throughout time for cameos, and they're basically going to do a movie version of Flashpoint. At the same time, this Screen Rant article is saying, yeah, but after this, they're kind of going to get away from one shared continuity, and every character is going to be doing their own thing. So Wonder Woman is going to have her own line of movies, and she may talk about Batman, but it's not necessarily going to be specifically the Batfleck Batman, because you're never even going to see him in her movie.
Okay, because I kept thinking this. They were talking about that this was what the comics were going to be doing. That there was going to be a continuity in the comics.
Oh, well, who cares about what's going on in the comics? Because there's been a new round of layoffs at DC Comics, including executives with decades of experience. Let me drop that link for you.
Go ahead. Yes.
So the comics are freaking going out of business. Who cares what their plans are in the comics?
What do I have here? It was labeled Bloodbath Part 2.
Yep. Pretty much. And I would expect others to be coming.
You have DC Children's Young Adult Editor Michelle Wells, Sale Manager Stuart Schreck of 21 Years. And it goes back, they are prioritizing HBO Max. They're sinking everything into HBO Max now.
Of course.
But
yeah, it's again, the comics are dying, so they only exist to be IPs for these characters. So they need to do little things here and there just to keep the characters alive so that they can make movies out of them. But the movies aren't being very successful either. So
or CW series.
Oh yeah, those are doing real well.
But in fact, speaking of series, we are getting a apparently. Well, I don't know if this is going to be a series or a movie or what they're doing. The Snyder Cut. Apparently, he wants to do a sequel.
Yeah.
To the.
So as the comics are dying and as they're deciding to decentralize and so forth, Snyder wants to press on and do a sequel because he's been encouraged by the idea of doing a Snyder Cut. But I don't put too much into this. I think that they've spent the money to finish up the Snyder Cut. They've turned it now into a mini series. I think since they're bringing back actors to film new scenes, they probably figured, as long as we're bringing people back, let's just film some more stuff, get another movie out of it, I think is what their plan is.
Apparently, he wants Darkseid to be in it. I'm getting kind of over Darkseid.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Darkseid should ultimately have been the big bad. He would be comparable to, Thanos.
That's my problem, though. It's like they're copying what the Marvel was doing. They should do something different.
Well,
I
what
know that Darkseid is the big bad in
what's
the.
funny,
Have
is
the
if
other
you go
big
back
bads
to the
they could
comic
use.
books,
Mhm.
Marvel and DC literally did have that, you know, um, that the history of Thanos and Darkseid is actually tied together. One's a ripoff of the other. It literally is.
Oh,
Um,
because Jack Kirby created them both, I bet,
yep,
didn't he? Okay,
yep.
that makes sense now. All right.
I think he created Thanos first, and then he left them to go over to DC to do his New Gods, and that's where Thanos comes from, or
Of
that's
course.
where
So he was like a
Darkseid comes from.
prototype Darkseid, basically.
Yeah. So they really, whereas as Marvel spent the time thinking through, seeding, giving inferences over many, many movies about, Thanos coming, before the reveal, and then the build up, and then the big confrontation, right? There was there was none of that build up with DC. It was just boom, you're dealing with Steppenwolf and the parademons. And it's like, what the heck is this, right? If there was anything like intelligence and preparedness, they would have gone back to the source material and said, okay, how has the comics done it? Okay, so start seeding the storyline, have Glorious Godfried start, an anti superhero campaign, and, this and that, and the Furies and whatnot, and build up to Legends, and that whole story. No,
No.
no, let's just hit everyone over the head with it right from
Well,
the
apparently
get-go.
Steppenwolf was Whedon's idea, and that apparently Snyder was going to have Darkseid as the bad guy in the first Justice League movie, but that the kibosh was put on that by Josh Whedon, who wanted Steppenwolf, who was, I guess, an underling of Darkseid.
Yeah, yeah, and Mr. Matchstick is talking about, not using the talent that they have because, their heads are up their bums. They have their cliques of morons that they put in charge of stuff that keep putting out crap that nobody cares about, and the people that have put out the successful stuff that actually have the talent are sidelined and marginalized. Brilliant. So again, when these people lose their jobs, we won't be feeling too badly for them, will we?
Yeah, well, it's interesting he brings them up because, like on Superman the animated series, they introduced Darkseid slowly.
Yeah.
It was this ominous threat out there. You got hints of it in different episodes, okay, and then he finally shows up, and it's a big deal. He's invading Earth, okay.
Boomer, what are you talking about? That sounds too much like, good story craft. That
Yeah,
has no business here.
yeah. Well, and we're gonna get Birds of Prey too, probably. I don't know. Maybe, no. I think they learned their lesson there, right?
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know
but
because they're doing what's it called? Suicide Squad 2. Or did they already do it? I don't even know.
no, they're doing Suicide Squad too,
Yeah.
which is being done by James Gunn. So I
Great.
don't know.
Wonderful.
Not a
Whoop-de-doo.
fan, I take it.
No, I was that movie sucked. I don't care who they have doing it. It's not going to help.
Oh, the sequel, I see. Well,
But
James Gunn did Guardians of the
one
Galaxy.
last thing that yeah, he did, and he did a great job on it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that, I mean, they had Joss Whedon come in to try to fix Justice League. You can't follow crap with, it's just going to be crap. You try to build a house on a pile of crap, and it's going to sink. It just is, you
yeah.
know. But just rounding out our DC news, Wonder Woman 84, Warner Brothers considers limited theatrical release before HBO Max debut. So they're throwing a bone to the cinemas, it looks like, but then they're pretty much defaulting to, we're really planning on releasing this on stream.
Now, this was an interesting idea because I was thinking that Disney should have done this with Mulan. They just should have released it on the streaming service since they had nothing else to show on it because of the pandemic. And looks like that's what they're going to do to try to spur up interest in HBO Max. But again, I don't think anybody's heard of HBO Max. I feel like we're running around in circles on the stream, like we keep circling back because everything is just like everything is getting tied up in this mess. Have you noticed this?
It is.
This is the stream about streaming.
Well, it's because Hollywood and all of these companies are circling the drain. So of course we're going to be talking in circles.
Okay. Were you looking forward to Wonder Woman 84?
For a while there, I actually had a little glimmer of hope because I did see some things about, when they were saying, yeah, it's not going to be a direct sequel and they're going to be, changing some of the paradigms about Wonder Woman. They're going to kind of distance themselves from the rest of the Snyderverse. I was like, well, maybe.
I like the costume. It looked at least more
very comic, inspired and whatnot. But then when I heard some of the other storyline stuff that they were doing with it and what they were doing with, what's his name?
Maxwell Lord.
No, I wasn't even going there.
Oh,
I was going to say the love interest, the Captain Kirk. What's his name?
Chris Pine, who plays
Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor. Yes. Okay.
They're making him the reincarnation of or whatever of the original Steve Trevor. I thought they were going to kind of go with the kind of inspired by the Wonder Woman TV series where she comes back to man's world and this is like his grandson or something like that. So you bring back Chris Pine to play Steve Trevor Jr. or Steve Trevor, the third or something like that. And, she has that moment of cognitive dissonance and, oh, Wonder Woman. Yeah. My grandfather used to talk about you all the time. Da, 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 da. Nope, that's not what they're doing. This is going to actually be the same guy.
Yes.
That comes back through magical means and it's all goofy. And I'm like, oh, no. So no, now I'm not, I have no interest now.
Oh, no. We'll see. I mean,
I'm certainly not going to subscribe to HBO Max to see it.
Well, you could catch that last season of the Game of Thrones finally if you subscribe to HBO Max.
In other news, I'm also not going to be giving any money to the BBC.
Apparently, a lot of people aren't going to be giving money to the BBC.
But just in Doctor Who news, it's wonderful to hear now that the first female Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker, the character is coming out as bisexual. I'm sure everyone is glad to know that.
You're just a hater. Okay, I got my own thoughts on this.
Go for it. I want to hear them.
I grew up with the Doctor, the old Doctor. The Doctor never had love interests on the show.
Right.
On the old show.
Right.
I looked at him as a teacher and like an elderly teacher type.
Mm-hmm.
He was always a masculine character too. There was that about him, but he didn't get involved with his companions, and I didn't really know what his sexuality was because it didn't really come up.
Right.
And
as you found out, as they kind of built his lore and you find out he's hundreds and hundreds of years old, you start to get the impression he's kind of beyond that. He's he's too mature for that. And he's had kids, he's had grandkids, he's done with all of that.
Yes, he's moved on. But now we're talking about canon, and that got thrown out the window anyway.
Well, right. Yeah. Now he's not just 1,000 years old. Now he's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years and had many, many, many incarnations. So,
including many women too.
Many women, many men, many different colors. And I actually don't even know why all of these doctors look like, humans. Why hasn't the doctor been Sultaran or, whatever?
I actually liked how they did the Centaurans on the David Tennant era.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the few.
By the way, they're bisexual too. Or
I thought they were clones.
Well, yeah, that's it. They have no sexuality.
There we go. Gender. Okay. I don't know why they're going there. I mean, to be fair, they changed so much of the lore of the last than the season finale. The Doctor is not even technically a Time Lord anymore, is she? Uh, I want to make a point too. I was against this whole idea of Time Lords changing gender, but I really liked Missy. Okay, when we got Michelle Gomez as Missy, remember her? You there, Troy? Hello? Hello? Anybody hearing me? Okay, something's gone wrong. Hello? Did I mute something? Hello? Ah, can anyone in the chat hear me? Okay. Maybe we were talking bad about Doctor Who, and the nasty fans came and got him. Okay. Okay. Thank you. You can hear me, but I was just going to say, I didn't like the idea of Time Lords changing genders, but the Master got lost internet. Troy Pacelli lost internet. So if we don't get to it tonight, we will cover it again next week. The story's not going anywhere. But let me see if he wants to say anything to the chat. But well, everyone's here. We have stuff going on this week. Hold on. Okay. It's okay. I'm gonna tell Troy it's okay, and we'll wrap it up. We'll take on this topic next week. All right. Okay. We can cover Doctor Who next week. But we may be ending a little early tonight, but I did want to go on what's happening this week. Right after this, we have We Watch over on Match 6 channel. And it's going to be tonight we're doing Batman, the Brave and the Bold. I'm going to be joining him. I believe Wolf 10 Media is going to be joining us as well. And we're going to be doing some episodes of Batman, the Brave and the Bold. So tune in for that if you can. And tomorrow night is Sound Engraver. She's going to be doing I'm not sure what her chat tomorrow night is going to be, but she's going to be doing something. And Tuesday night is a big deal. It is the Star Wars Holiday Special rewatch on Professor Geek's channel, okay? And Sound Engraver is going to be the special guest this year, and they're going to be doing a live rewatch of the Star Wars Holiday Special, but they'll provide a link, so you'll get to see that. Very interesting. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Star Wars Holiday Special. It is excruciating, so you definitely want to watch it with commentary, okay? But let me see, though. And on Wednesday, I believe that the Fan Man might have something in the morning. And Daniel Herron and I will be doing a rewatch of Dances with Wolves. We'll also be doing I think Professor Geek will be joining us for that. And Green Line Girl will have something going on. And I'm trying to think what else is going on tomorrow. Let me see. And I think Wolf 10 Media might even have some stuff going on this week. I know he usually does stuff on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I believe on Thursday, the professor might be having his Catholic Bible Geek study. I believe that's going on Thursday night. Oh, I forgot Tuesday night too on the Klingon Cleric channel. Oh, I forgot. Let me ask Troy what the name is. It's going to be they'll have Trek Tuesday, so definitely check that out. And I'm trying to think what else is going on, and not sure if anything's going on Friday. And I'm sure there'll be a Saturday rewatch this Saturday as well. Okay, but like to wish everyone a good night. And things got a little wonky here at the end, but we got through most of the news tonight. Hope Troy is doing well. Wish him a good first day at work. Okay. And be sure to join us on Match 6 channel. We'll go ahead and I'll see you guys over there if you want to jump over there. Okay. All right. All right. So I'm going to end the stream and wish a good night to everybody. Here comes the bell.